The massive crystal hall of Nexus Prime buzzed with angry voices. Representatives from 12 different alien species sat around a curved table that seemed to glow from within. The air smelled of ozone and strange alien perfumes. Outside the tall windows, massive ships floated in the purple sky like metal whales. Ambassador Kale slammed all four of his blue arms on the smooth table surface. His species, the Vorthik, were known across the galaxy for their strength and their bad temper. Today both were on full display. His red eyes burned with frustration as he stared at the humans standing in the center of the room. The humans looked so small compared to the aliens around them. Captain Park Ji-ho stood straight and calm in his dark green Earth military uniform. His black hair was cut short and neat. His face showed no fear, even though he was surrounded by beings who could crush him with their bare hands. Behind him stood a young woman who looked even more ordinary. Kale pointed one thick finger at the humans. His voice sounded like rocks grinding together when he spoke. They think they can just walk in here and demand access to our most sacred training programs. These creatures barely learned to fly between stars 50 years ago. My people have been warriors for 10,000 years, Elder Zex nodded her large-scaled head. She was from the Reptilian Council and her species had ruled half the galaxy before. Humans even discovered fire. Her yellow eyes studied the young human woman with obvious doubt. The mind. Bridge technique is not some simple skill that can be learned quickly. It connects the consciousness directly to any machine or weapon system. The student must learn to merge their mind with technology while keeping their sense of self. One small mistake and the student's brain burns out completely. They die in terrible pain. She paused and looked directly at Captain Ji-ho. Even our most gifted students need 8 years of careful training before they can safely use basic mind bridge connections. Advanced techniques take a full decade to master. These humans are too young as a species and too reckless in their nature. The other aliens murmured their agreement. The snake-like Sithrek hissed softly. The rock-skinned granite folk rumbled. Deep in their chests, the floating energy beings that called themselves the Bright Ones pulsed with worried light. Captain Ji-ho listened to all their complaints without moving. His dark eyes moved from one alien face to another. He had expected this reaction. Humans had been trying to gain access to the Galactic Learning Council training programs for 5 years. Every request had been denied. The aliens thought humans were too primitive, too dangerous, too unpredictable. They saw Earth as a backwards planet full of violent creatures who solved problems by fighting instead of thinking, but Ji-ho knew something the aliens did not understand. Humans were different in ways that could not be measured by age or technology. They learned differently. They adapted differently. They survived differently. He stepped forward and his voice carried clearly through the crystal hall. I understand your concerns about human capabilities. You have watched our species for decades and seen our wars and conflicts. You think we are too aggressive and chaotic to master your disciplines. He gestured to the young woman behind him. But you have never seen what humans can do when they are truly challenged. Meet Specialist Kim Sora. She has volunteered to prove that human minds work differently than you believe. The aliens turned their attention to the small human female. She wore a simple gray military jumpsuit with no decorations or medals. Her black hair was pulled back in a practical ponytail. She carried no weapons and no special equipment. To alien eyes, she looked completely unremarkable. Sora was 20. 2 years old and had joined the Earth Defense Corps straight from university. She had studied both computer science and psychology before deciding on a military career. Her test scores were high but not exceptional. Her physical abilities were good but not outstanding. On paper, she seemed like an average human soldier, but Captain Ji-ho had seen something special in her during basic training. While other recruits struggled to learn new weapon systems, Sora seemed to understand them instinctively. She could operate unfamiliar equipment after just a few minutes of practice. More importantly, she remained calm under pressure and never gave up when faced with impossible challenges. Kale looked at Sora and laughed. The sound was like metal scraping against stone. This tiny creature is your champion. She looks like she would break if I breathed on her too hard. You expect us to believe she can master techniques that challenge our greatest warriors. Sora stepped forward for the first time since entering the hall. Her voice was quiet but steady. I may look small to you, but appearances can be deceiving. Human minds have evolved differently than yours. We have spent millions of years learning to adapt quickly to survive. That evolution has given us abilities you might not recognize. Elder Zex studied the young human with new interest. There was something in Sora's tone that suggested confidence rather than arrogance. What exactly are you proposing, human captain? Jiho smiled for the first time since the meeting began. Give us 3 days. Let Specialist Sora attempt your Mind Bridge training program. If she fails to show significant progress, then humanity will withdraw all applications to your academies permanently. We will never ask again, the aliens whispered among themselves. In a dozen different languages. The proposal was interesting but seemed pointless. No student had ever shown real progress in the mind bridge technique in less than 6 months. Elder Zex spoke for the council. And if by some miracle she succeeds in making progress, then you acknowledge that humans learn differently than other species. You give us full access to your warrior training programs and stop treating us like primitive children. The crystal hall fell silent, except for the humming of alien technology in the walls. This was a significant gamble for both sides. If the human failed, it would prove that her species was not ready for advanced galactic society. If she succeeded, it would challenge everything the aliens believed about learning and consciousness. Kale looked around the table at his fellow council members. Most seemed amused by the human's confidence. A few looked worried about setting a dangerous precedent. But all were curious to see what would happen. Very well, human. We accept your challenge. But understand the risks. The Mind Bridge training has killed students from species far more advanced than yours. If this Sora creature dies during the process, her blood will be on your hands, Captain. Jiho nodded calmly. Specialist Sora understands the risks and accepts them willingly. Sora stepped forward again and looked directly at each alien. Council member, I am ready to begin whenever you are. The sooner we start, the sooner you will see what humans are truly capable of. Master Thane rose from his seat at the far end of the table. He was tall and gray with 6 eyes arranged around his elongated head. His species, the observers, had created the Mind Bridge technique thousands of years ago. If anyone could judge a student's potential, it was him. The training facility is prepared. We will begin at first light tomorrow. I warn you, young human, the Mind Bridge shows no mercy to those who are unprepared. Sora smiled, and for the first time, the aliens saw something that made them slightly uncomfortable. It was not fear or uncertainty in her expression. It was anticipation. I look forward to learning from you, Master. Thane, I think you might learn something from me as well. As the council session ended, and the various representatives began to leave, the hall captain Jiho put his hand on Sora's shoulder. Are you sure about this? There is still time to back down without losing face. Sora shook her head. Captain, I have been preparing for this moment my entire life. Every human has. We just did not know it until now. The next morning would bring the greatest test of human potential the galaxy had ever seen. Neither side truly understood what they were about to discover about the nature of consciousness, adaptation, and the incredible power of the human mind when pushed beyond all limits. The challenge had been accepted. Now it was time to see if humanity could prove itself worthy of standing among the stars. The training facility stretched across an entire mountain like a sleeping metal giant. Ancient alien technology hummed in every wall, sending vibrations through the ground that made Sora's teeth ache. Strange lights pulsed in patterns that seemed almost alive. The air tasted of electricity and something else she could not name. Master Thane led her through corridors that seemed to go on forever. His 6 eyes moved constantly, watching everything at once. His gray skin looked almost silver under the alien lighting. He walked with the careful steps of someone who had seen too many students fail. The Mind Bridge device has trained warriors for over 3,000 years. It reads the electrical patterns in your brain and connects them directly to weapon ships and battle suits. But this connection is not like using a computer or flying a ship. It requires the pilot to merge their consciousness with pure technology. Sora listened carefully as they walked deeper into the mountain. The walls were covered with symbols from dozens of different alien languages. Some glowed softly while others seemed to move when she was not looking directly at them. What makes the process so dangerous, Master Thane? Thane stopped walking and turned all 6 eyes toward her. His expression was hard to read, but she could sense his concern. Your mind must become one with the machine while keeping your sense of self intact. If you lose yourself in the connection, you become nothing more than a biological computer. Your personality, your memories, your dreams all disappear forever. But if you fight too hard against the connection, the feedback destroys your brain like fire burning through paper. They entered a circular chamber deep underground. The room was larger than a basketball court and filled with floating crystals that pulsed with inner light. In the center sat a chair surrounded by beams of energy that danced through the air like living things. Sora studied the mind bridge device with growing fascination. The chair looked almost organic, as if it had grown instead of being built. Cables and wires emerged from its surface like veins. The floating crystals hummed with power that she could feel in her bones. The walls of the chamber were covered with names, carved in alien writing. Each name had a date beside it showing when the student had completed their training. Sora noticed that most dates showed completion times of 8 to 12 years. Some names had different dates beside them. Death dates. How many students have died trying to master this technique? Master Thane was quiet for a long moment. His 6 eyes looked at the names on the walls with something that might have been sadness. Too many. The mind bridge demands perfect balance between control and surrender. Most species need years to develop the mental discipline required. Even then, success is not guaranteed. Sora nodded and walked toward the chair without hesitation. Her footsteps echoed in the chamber like heartbeats. She could feel the power of the device growing stronger as she approached. What should I expect during the first connection? The initial contact will flood your mind with information. Star charts, weapon specifications, battle formations, tactical data. Your brain will try to process information designed for alien minds that think differently than humans. The pain can be overwhelming. Sora sat in the chair and immediately felt a tingling sensation run through her body. The crystals around her began to glow brighter. Energy beams started to move faster, creating patterns in the air above her head. Other species learn slowly. They build mental walls to protect themselves from the information flood. They take months to establish basic connections and years to achieve true fusion with technology. But you humans, Master Thane paused and looked at her with all 6 eyes. You humans are different. Your minds work in ways we do not fully understand. This could be your greatest advantage or your greatest weakness. The mind bridge activated with a sound like distant thunder. Sora felt the first touch of alien technology in her mind and gasped. It was like lightning running through her thoughts. Images flooded her consciousness faster than she could process them. She saw star maps, showing the positions of 1,000 worlds, weapon designs that could destroy entire cities, battle formations used by species that had been extinct for millennia, mathematical equations that described the movement of galaxies. The sheer volume of information was staggering, but instead of fighting the flood of data, Sora did something that surprised even herself. She relaxed and let the information flow through her mind like water through a sieve. She did not try to understand everything at once. Instead, she let her brain sort through the data, naturally keeping what seemed important and letting the rest pass by. The technique felt familiar somehow, like something she had always known how to do but had never had reason to try. Her mind began to organize the alien information into patterns that made sense to her. Human brain. After 2 hours, she opened her eyes and found Master Thane staring at her in complete shock. All 6 of his eyes were wide with disbelief. He held a tablet covered with readings from the mind bridge sensors. This is impossible. The neural feedback readings show a stable connection. First-time students usually lose consciousness within minutes. The information overload should have knocked you out completely. Sora stretched her arms and rolled her shoulders. She felt tired, but alert. The alien information was still flowing through her mind, but it no longer felt overwhelming. Her brain had adapted to the new input patterns. It was intense but manageable. The key was not fighting the process. Can we try connecting to a simple weapon system next? Master Thane looked at his tablet again as if he could not believe what he was seeing. The readings showed neural patterns unlike anything in the training facility databases. Where other species built defensive barriers in their minds, this human had built bridges. I suppose we could attempt a basic targeting system connection? But you should rest first. The mind needs time to recover from. No need. I feel ready to continue. By evening, Sora had successfully linked her mind to 3 different training devices. A targeting computer that helped her aim energy weapons with perfect accuracy. A navigation system that showed her the fastest routes through asteroid fields. A shield generator that responded to her thoughts faster than any manual control. Progress that should have taken months was happening in hours. Word spread quickly through the alien facility. Scientists and instructors gathered to watch the impossible. Human student, Master Thane sent reports to the council that he could barely believe himself. The human brain seemed naturally suited for mind bridge connections in ways that defied everything they knew about consciousness and technology. As Sora prepared to leave the training chamber for the night, she paused at the wall of names. She traced her finger along the carved letters and thought about all the students who had struggled and died to master this technique. Tomorrow she would face even greater challenges. But tonight she was confident that humans brought something unique to the process. Something that could change everything the aliens believed about learning and adaptation. The first day was complete. 2 more days remained to prove that humanity deserved its place among the stars. The second day brought crowds of alien observers to the training facility. News of Sora's progress had spread through the galactic community faster than light-speed communication. Representatives from species she had never seen before gathered in the observation areas to witness what many considered impossible. Master Thane led her to a new chamber 3 times larger than the first. In the center stood a battle mech that made her breath catch in her throat. The war machine was 30 feet tall and built like a metal giant. Its body contained enough firepower to level a small city. Weapon ports covered its arms and shoulders. Like mechanical muscles, this is our advanced training mech. Most students do not attempt mech fusion until their 3rd year of study. The neural feedback from a full connection has killed even experienced pilots. Sora walked around the massive machine, studying its design. The mech was clearly built for war. Every line of its construction spoke of power and violence. But she also saw something else: grace. The machine was designed to move like a living thing despite its enormous size. In the observation deck above, Lee Minho pressed his face against the reinforced glass. He had arrived from Earth that morning along with a small delegation of human officials. As Sora's childhood friend and fellow soldier, he knew her better than anyone. She has that look, Captain Jiho, the same expression she had before breaking every record in Earth's military academy. Sora does not just learn techniques. She makes them better. Captain Jiho nodded as he watched his student approach the towering mech. He had seen that look before, too. It was the expression Sora wore when she was about to do something that everyone saw it was impossible. The mind bridge chair rose on mechanical arms to the mech's chest level. Sora climbed into position as dozens of connection cables attached to her head and spine. The process looked painful, but her face remained calm. The aliens in the observation deck expected to see her struggle like their own students. New pilots usually spent hours just learning to make the mech take a single step. The neural load from controlling a 30-foot war machine was overwhelming for most minds, but when the connection activated, something remarkable happened. Sora did not try to control the mech like driving a vehicle. Instead, she became the mech. Her consciousness expanded to fill the machine's entire frame. She felt the weight of its massive arms as if they were her own arms. The mech's sensors became her eyes and ears. The change was immediate and dramatic. Within minutes, she was making the mech walk around the arena with smooth, natural movements. The massive war machine moved like a dancer despite weighing over 50 Tons. How is this possible? Elder Zex demanded from the control room. Her yellow eyes were wide with disbelief as she watched the impossible scene below. Master Thane studied the neural readouts with growing amazement. The numbers on his screen showed brain patterns unlike anything in thousands of years of records. Her mind does not fight the connection like other species. Where our brains build walls to protect our consciousness, hers builds bridges. She connects with the technology as if it was always part of her body. The other aliens murmured in their various languages. Some sounded afraid, others sounded excited. All were confused by what they were witnessing. In the arena, Sora was discovering abilities she never knew she possessed. The mech's weapon systems responded to her thoughts as naturally as moving her fingers. She could track multiple targets simultaneously, while maintaining perfect balance and coordination. Within an hour, she was running complex combat drills that took most alien students years to master. She made the giant mech dodge and weave between obstacles like a gymnast. She fired practice weapons with accuracy that impressed even the facility's best instructors, but Sora was not satisfied with basic movements. She began experimenting with the mech systems in ways that the designers never intended. She learned to use the machine's jump jets for rapid direction changes. She discovered how to coordinate the mech's multiple weapon systems for devastating combined attacks. By the end of the day, she had mastered mech operations that typically required 2 full years of training. The aliens watching from above sat in stunned silence. Master Thane approached her as she climbed out of the mind bridge chair. His 6 eyes showed a mixture of admiration and concern. Your progress is unprecedented. But tomorrow we must attempt the most dangerous test of all. Are you certain you wish to continue? Sora wiped sweat from her forehead and looked up at the towering mech. She could still feel the connection in her mind like an echo of power. Tomorrow I want to try the advanced combat systems. Real weapons. Real opponents? The alien instructor nodded slowly. He had trained thousands of students over the centuries, but never one like this human. Her abilities challenged everything he thought he knew about consciousness and technology. Very well. But understand that tomorrow you will face challenges that have destroyed some of our most experienced pilots. Sora smiled and looked up at her friends in the observation deck. Minho and Captain Jiho were watching her with expressions of pride and worry. Master Thane, I have been preparing for challenges like this my entire life. Every human has. We just never knew it until now. As the second day ended, the alien observers began to realize something important. They had seriously underestimated not just Sora, but the entire human species. The implications of her rapid progress were staggering. If one human could master their most advanced training in days, what could millions of humans accomplish given the chance? The galaxy was about to find out. The third day brought visitors from the highest levels of galactic government. Ships from across the galaxy arrived at Nexus Prime carrying representatives who wanted to witness the human phenomenon firsthand. The space around the planet looked like a military parade with vessels from dozens of different species. General Korth of the Vorthic warrior caste studied the training reports with growing unease. His forearms moved restlessly as he read the impossible statistics. His red eyes burned with a mixture of anger and fear. Show me the neural recordings again. The holographic display flickered to life, showing Sora's brain patterns during mech connection. The readings were unlike anything in the galactic databases. Where other species showed careful, controlled responses, the human showed wild adaptive surges. Look at these adaptation spikes. Master Thane pointed to the screen. Normal students spend years building mental defenses against technological feedback. But this human appears to have natural mechanisms that we never suspected. General Korth grunted and crossed his arms. His species had dominated galactic warfare for centuries based on their superior training and discipline. The idea that young humans could match their abilities in days was deeply disturbing. In the preparation chamber, Sora was getting ready for the final test. Her friend Choi Hyein had arrived from Earth's embassy carrying messages from home. He was a diplomat rather than a soldier, but his face showed the same determination that marked all humans. The Council of Earth wants you to know that there is No pressure, but the entire future of human-alien cooperation might depend on the next few hours, Sora laughed as she checked her equipment. The sound echoed in the metal chamber like music. Thanks for keeping it light, Hyen. No pressure at all, right? Seriously though, Sora, what you have accomplished in 2 days is incredible. You have already proven that humans can learn these techniques. You do not have to risk your life in combat simulation. Sora looked at her friend with eyes that showed absolute confidence. Hyen, proving we can learn is not enough. We need to prove we can fight. The galaxy respects strength and skill in battle. Everything else is just theory. The final test chamber was the largest yet. It contained a complete battle arena with obstacles, cover, and environmental hazards. 3. Advanced training mechs waited in the center, operated by some of the facility's best instructors. This was a challenge typically reserved for students in their 8th or 9th year of training. The combat mechs were programmed with fighting techniques developed over centuries of warfare. They moved with precision and attacked with strategies that had destroyed armies. As Sora entered her mech for the final time, she felt the familiar rush of expansion as her consciousness merged with the machine. But this time, something was different. The connection felt deeper and more complete than ever before. The mech no longer felt like a tool she was operating. It felt like her body. The weapon systems responded to her thoughts as naturally as breathing. She could sense the entire battle arena through the mech's sensors as if she had eyes everywhere. The combat simulation began without warning. 3 enemy mechs attacked from different angles, using tactics perfected over generations of alien warfare. Their movements were coordinated and precise. Their weapons fired in patterns designed to overwhelm any defense, but Sora fought with a style that none of them had ever encountered. Where alien pilots relied on learned patterns and careful strategy, she used pure instinct and adaptation. She moved like a human athlete wearing 50 feet of armor and weapons. Her attacks were unpredictable and flowing. When one tactic failed, she instantly shifted to another approach without hesitation. She used the battle arena's obstacles in ways that surprised even their designers. The watching aliens saw something that challenged everything they thought they knew about combat and learning. This human was not just following the rules of mech warfare. She was rewriting them in real time. 1. Enemy mech tried to pin her against a wall using standard containment tactics. Sora responded by using her jump jets to leap over the attacker and land behind it. Her weapons fired before the enemy could turn around. Another mech attempted a coordinated attack with energy weapons. Sora dodged by sliding under the beams and then used her mech's physical strength to tackle the enemy machine. They crashed together in a shower of sparks and twisted metal. The third mech tried to use its superior firepower to keep her at distance. Sora solved this problem by grabbing pieces of destroyed obstacles and throwing them like massive spears. Her improvised weapons struck with devastating accuracy. In 20 minutes, she had defeated all 3 opponent mechs using techniques that did not exist in any training manual. The aliens watching from the observation deck sat in absolute silence. General Korth was the first to speak. His voice was quiet but carried clearly through the chamber. That was not mech combat as we understand it. That was something entirely new. Master Thane nodded slowly. All 6 of his eyes were focused on the human climbing out of her mech. She fights like her machine is part of her body. Not a tool to be controlled, but an extension of her will. I have never seen anything like it in 3,000 years of training pilots. Elder Zex leaned forward in her seat. Her scaled face showed a mixture of admiration and concern. The question is not whether humans can learn our techniques. The question is whether we can learn theirs. As Sora emerged from the mind bridge connection for the final time, she felt different. The experience had changed her in ways she was only beginning to understand. She could still feel the mech connection in her mind like a permanent bridge between flesh and metal. Captain Jiho and her friends rushed down from the observation deck to congratulate her. But before they could speak, an alarm began blaring throughout the facility. The emergency sirens meant only one thing. The galaxy was under attack. The celebration was cut short when Admiral Roku appeared on every screen in the facility. His forearms moved frantically as he delivered the emergency broadcast. His usually calm demeanor was replaced by obvious panic. We have a crisis situation. The Devour fleet has entered our outer defense perimeter. 3 enemy dreadnoughts are heading directly for Nexus Prime. Long-range sensors show arrival time in 6 hours. The assembled aliens looked at each other with growing terror. The Devour fleet was their ancient enemy, a race of machines that consumed entire planets to fuel their endless expansion. Their ships were massive, heavily armed, and controlled by artificial intelligence that learned from every battle. Captain Jiho stepped forward, his military training taking over. What defensive forces do you have available, Admiral? Our main battle fleet is scattered across 3 different systems dealing with other threats. We have only a handful of ships in the immediate area. Not nearly enough to stop 3 dreadnoughts. The aliens began talking among themselves in worried voices. Some species started making plans to evacuate their representatives. Others discussed surrender terms. The Devour fleet had never been defeated. In direct combat, Admiral Roku continued his briefing. We do have one possible option. The experimental fusion mechs are stored here on Nexus Prime. These machines represent our most advanced technology, but they require neural connection levels that take 15 years to achieve safely. Elder Zek spoke grimly. The fusion mechs need pilots who can simultaneously control multiple weapon systems, navigation arrays, and defensive screens, all while maintaining perfect mental balance under extreme stress. We have no pilots qualified for such connections. All eyes turned to Sora. She had been listening quietly while still connected to her training mech through a maintenance link. The connection gave her access to the facility's entire computer network. She had been studying the fusion mech specifications for several minutes. These machines are incredible. They are designed to interface with multiple pilots simultaneously. 3 mechs working together could theoretically match the firepower of a dreadnought. Admiral Roku nodded. Exactly, but the neural demands are beyond anything we have ever attempted. The pilot must manage dozens of systems simultaneously while coordinating with other pilots in real time. One mistake, and the pilot's consciousness gets torn apart by competing data streams. Sora looked at Captain Jiho, then at her friends Minho and Hyein. She could see the same thought forming in all their minds. What if human brains are naturally suited for this kind of multi-system connection? What if our ability to adapt and coordinate is exactly what these machines need? The aliens stared at her, with expressions ranging from hope to horror. Master Thane was the first to respond. The risk is enormous. These machines are untested. The neural load could kill you instantly. Even if you survive the connection, the combat stress could destroy your mind. Sora stood up and walked to the chamber viewing window. Outside, she could see the first fusion mech being moved into position. It was larger than anything she had piloted before. Its surface gleamed with energy conduits and weapon systems from a dozen different civilizations. How much time do we have before the Devour fleet arrives? 6 hours. Maybe 7 if we are lucky. Then we need to start now. Minho, Hyein, are you willing to pilot the other 2 mechs? Her friends looked at each other with expressions of determination mixed with terror. They had never attempted mind bridge connections before, but they had been following Sora into impossible situations since childhood. Minho grinned. Despite the circumstances. We have been your wingmen this long. Why quit now? Hyein nodded agreement. If you think we can do this, then we trust your judgment. But can we really learn to pilot these machines in just a few hours? Sora turned back to face the assembled aliens. Her expression showed absolute confidence. You have been thinking about this wrong. You train pilots to control machines, but humans do not control technology. We partner with it. We adapt to it. We make it part of ourselves. She gestured toward the fusion mech outside. These machines are not just weapons. They are an extension of the pilot's body and mind. The neural connection is not about domination. It is about cooperation. General Korth spoke up from his position near the back of the room. Even if you are correct about human adaptation abilities, you have never faced the Devour fleet in combat. Their artificial intelligence learns and adapts during battle. They will study your fighting style and develop counters within minutes. Sora smiled, and for the first time the aliens saw something in her expression that made them believe in the impossible. General, that is exactly what humans do best. We adapt faster than any artificial intelligence because we do not just learn patterns. We create new ones. The decision was made. 3 humans would pilot experimental mechs against an enemy that had never been defeated. The fate of the galaxy would depend on humanity's ability to prove that adaptation and innovation could triumph over superior technology and experience. The real test was about to begin. The launch bay doors opened with a sound like thunder, revealing 3 fusion mechs that defied imagination. Each machine stood 60 feet tall and contained technology from across the galaxy. Their surfaces pulsed with energy that made the air itself seem alive. The mechs were works of art as much as weapons of war, smooth curves mixed with angular armor plating. Weapon systems emerged from hidden compartments like mechanical flowers blooming. Energy fields surrounded each machine, creating halos of barely contained power. Master Thane approached the lead mech with obvious nervousness. His 6 eyes moved constantly as he checked and rechecked the neural connection systems. The fusion mechs will attempt to connect with every part of your consciousness simultaneously. Weapons targeting, shield harmonics, engine control, communication. Arrays, sensor integration, all demanding your attention at the same time. Sora nodded as she studied the complex control systems. The neural interface was unlike anything she had experienced. Instead of a single connection point, there were dozens of contact surfaces that would link to different parts of her brain. Any normal pilot would be overwhelmed within seconds. The sheer volume of information and control requirements would cause immediate neural collapse. But Sora felt ready for the challenge. Minho and Hyein were preparing their own mechs nearby. Neither had formal mind bridge training, but both had spent years working with Sora in high-stress situations. They understood teamwork and adaptation better than any alien pilot. The approaching Devour fleet appeared on long-range sensors as 3 massive shapes moving through space like mechanical sharks. Each dreadnought was over 2 miles long and armed with weapons that could crack planets. Their black hulls absorbed light, making them look like holes in space itself. As the humans entered their mechs, the alien observers gathered in the command center. Representatives from dozens of species watched the impossible scene with mixtures of hope and terror. Captain Jiho stood at the main tactical display, studying the enemy approach patterns. His expression was calm, but his hands were clenched into fists. The Devour fleet will reach Nexus Prime in 90 minutes. Our defensive platforms might delay them for a few minutes, but nothing more. When the fusion mech connections activated, Sora felt her consciousness explode across systems she had never imagined. Weapon targeting arrays that could track thousands of objects simultaneously. Shield generators that required constant adjustment to maintain protection. Engine systems that could bend space itself. The neural load was staggering. Information flowed through her mind like a river of lightning. Any normal person would have been destroyed instantly. But Sora's human brain did what it had evolved to do over millions of years. It adapted. Instead of trying to control each system separately, she let them flow together like instruments in an orchestra. Her consciousness became the conductor guiding the mechanical symphony without trying to dominate any single component. The connection felt natural and right. The fusion mech became an extension of her body, larger and more powerful than anything she had ever imagined. Beside her, Minho and Hyein were experiencing their own breakthrough moments. Human minds were naturally suited for managing multiple complex information streams. Their brains could process the overwhelming data flow by treating it as a coordination challenge rather than a control problem. The 3 mechs launched from Nexus Prime like shooting stars. They moved through space with grace that seemed impossible for machines their size. The fusion mechs responded to their pilots' thoughts as naturally as breathing. The battle began when they were still an hour from the planet. The Devour fleet detected the approaching mechs and opened fire with weapons that could vaporize asteroids. Beams of energy lanced through space, creating patterns of destruction. But the humans did not fight like any enemy the machines had encountered before. They moved unpredictably, using tactics that had never been programmed into any artificial intelligence. They worked together with perfect coordination while maintaining complete individual freedom. Sora led the attack, diving between the dreadnought's massive weapon arrays. Her mech moved like a dancer, avoiding beams that passed within inches of her armor. She fired back with weapons that struck with surgical precision. Minho provided covering fire while Haiyan attacked from unexpected angles. The three humans fought as a team, but each brought their own unique style to the battle. Their coordination was flawless, but their individual actions were completely unpredictable. The Devour Fleet artificial intelligence tried to adapt to the human fighting style but failed. Every time it developed a counter to one tactic, the humans switched to something completely different. They were not following any known patterns of warfare. The battle lasted 3 hours and became legend throughout the galaxy. 3 rookie pilots in experimental mechs faced an enemy fleet that had destroyed civilizations. They won through a combination of courage, skill, and the uniquely human ability to innovate under pressure. When the last Devourer dreadnought exploded in a burst of light that could be seen from the planet's surface, the alien observers sat in stunned silence. Elder Zex was the first to find her voice. In 3 days they have achieved what we believed impossible. They have redefined our understanding of learning warfare and the limits of consciousness itself. The Galactic Learning Council voted unanimously to open all their academies to human students. But they also added a new requirement. Alien students would now train alongside humans to learn their unique approaches to problem-solving and adaptation. As Sora, Minho, and Haiyan returned to Nexus Prime, their mechs glowing with residual energy from the battle, the galaxy began to understand something important. Humanity had not just proven they could learn alien techniques. They had proven they could make those techniques better. The age of human-alien cooperation had truly begun, and the universe would never be the same. Master Thane approached Sora as she emerged from her fusion mech. All 6 of his eyes showed respect and admiration. How did your species develop such remarkable adaptation abilities? Sora paused and looked back at the machine that had nearly killed dozens of alien pilots. Her expression was thoughtful as she considered the question. On Earth we have a saying, necessity is the mother of invention. Humans spent millions of years learning to survive in a world that was constantly trying to kill us. We learned to adapt or die. She smiled at the alien instructor. I guess all that training finally paid off. The galaxy had learned something valuable about humanity. They were not just another species joining galactic civilization. They were a force for change and innovation that would transform everything they touched. The stars themselves seemed brighter as the future of human-alien cooperation stretched endlessly ahead.